So the last identities we did was all double angles. Like this would be 2 alpha or 2 theta or 2x. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do half angles. So we're going to take our angle and we're going to divide it by 2. And notice we get different results. So these are on our half angles, and we're going to do this. Again, these are very helpful for finding angles that aren't on the unit circle. So if we're going to do a half angle identity to find an exact value, let's find the exact value of cosine 15. Well, 15 degrees is not on my unit circle, so finding that exact value is going to be very difficult. So if I want to use a half angle identity, I need to figure out what we can do to make half of 15. Because, well, what if we make a 30? Then I can do the half angle formula for cosine, and that's going to be half of a equals the square root plus 1 plus the cosine of a all over 2. All right, well, we've already established a is 30. So we are going to say that cosine of 30 over 2 equals the square root of 1 plus the cosine of 30. And we like the cosine of 30 because it is on the unit circle. Divide that by 2. So the cosine of 15 is going to be the square root of 1 plus, okay, so 30 comes up like this. It is my first angle up, my first line up on the unit circle, and that's at radical 3 over 2 and 1/2 on my unit circle. So the cosine of, so we're going to use the cosine, which is my x value. So radical 3 over 2, all over 2. Now remember, when we're taking a giant square root like this, why can't I write cosine correctly? So the cosine of 15 is going to equal, on top I am going to have the square root of, I want to do 1 plus radical 3 over 2, so I'm going to make common denominators. 1 is 2 over 2 plus radical 3 over 2, and all of that is going to be over the square root of 2. So when we add on top, I'm going to get 2 plus radical 3 over 2. And all of that, and this is inside a square root, and all of that is over a square root. So when we have fractions inside fractions, which we do, I'm going to take the radical of 2 plus radical 3 over 2, and I am going to multiply that by 1 over radical 2. Well, this 2 is also inside a radical. So radical 2 times radical 2 just becomes 2 on the outside of the radical. So it's kind of weird to have a radical inside a radical, but that is okay. So the cosine of 15, the exact value is 2 plus radical 3 all over 2. Let's find an exact value for tangent of 22.5. Now 22.5 is definitely not an angle on my unit circle. They told me the half angle formula I want to use. So what we need to do is we need to figure out what a is. What number divided by 2 is 22.5? And that's going to be 45. So we're making a 45. So I'm going to find the tangent of 45 over 2, and that is going to equal the sine of 45 over 1 plus the cosine of 45. So the tangent of 22.5 is going to equal already. So sine of 45, we've got 30 and we've got 45, the second line up. That is radical 2 over 2 and radical 2 over 2. Cosine and sine. So the sine of 45 is radical 2 over 2 over 1 plus cosine is the first part, radical 2 over 2. I'm going to go ahead and simplify the bottom. So 2 over 2, 1 is going to be 2 over 2. So that's going to give me 2 plus radical 2 over 2. Because the 1 became a 2, 2 over 2, and I just wrote it as one fraction. Now let's multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to take radical 2 over 2 times 2 over 2 plus radical 2. Well, the 2's are going to cancel out on top and bottom. So that's going to leave me with radical 2 over 2 plus radical 2. I hate radicals on the bottom, so I'm going to multiply the bottom by the complex conjugate. If you multiply the bottom by the complex conjugate, multiply the top by the complex conjugate. So on top, I'm going to get 2 radical 2 minus 2. Radical 2 times 2 is 2 radical 2. Radical 2 times radical 2 is just 2. Now on the bottom, I'm going to distribute. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times negative radical 2 is negative 2 radical 2, plus 2 radical 2, radical 2 times 2, minus 2. Radical 2 times radical 2 is 2, and the signs are different. So we have 2 radical 2 minus 2 over, let's see, minus radical 2 plus radical 2, those cancel out. 4 minus 2 is 2. Goodness. And all these 2's cancel out, so I am left with radical 2, and since this 2 canceled out, that's a minus 1. I like to write it the other way. I like to put my real number first. So that is what the tangent of 22.5 degrees is. Wow, that's a lot. Alrighty, so when we, in the next video, we're going to do examples 7 and 8. And I hope you're having as much fun as I am.